Hello folks, this recipe is for pork fillet, cured pork fillet, which I'm going to be putting inside of meat casings or beef middles. Same thing you might make a salami or a chorizo with. But before that I wanted to talk about some spices. Now these are masala dabbers and these are my go-to inspirations really, and you can probably tell by what's in there. I make a lot of curries, which I do. So I open these up and I have a look inside, and something usually pops out. It's like for a bit of inspiration. Now pork loin or pork fillet, I'm using fillet in this case. Some of the traditional ways of doing it, bay leaf seem to be a very popular one. I'm not going to change that because I like the idea of it. Sea salt, that's 50 grams. There's a kilo of meat I'm going to be doing, so that's 50 grams for a kilo. This is the initial salting, so this will be done for 24 hours and then there'll be stage 2. So the spices that jumped out at me was these caraway seeds. That don't know what it was, if you can see that, but I think caraway seeds and bay will be good. So, and there's actually over here some black cardamom seeds, which I'm not sure if I use them now. I think I'll use them in the second stage. So I'm just talking this through literally as I've just opened them up. So this is new to you as it is to me. So what you can do, people often use these dried, but I think the oils are the best when they're not. These are fresh. I just ripped off the tree, poor thing. What I want to do is get that oil and that flavour in the meat as best as possible, as quickly as possible, over 24 hours. So I'm going to mix these with the salt in my smoothie maker with the caraway seeds, and I'm going to give it a good rub. So once I've done that, I'll come back and I'll set up the meat and I'll show you what's next. Alright, now that was fun. You can't smell that, but you should make this just for like a bowl of potpourri just to have in your house. Or if you, I don't know, you could rub it under your armpits and make awesome aftershave. The smell is incredible. It has mint overtones. It's really hard to place. So that's the bay, the caraway seeds and the salt. Absolutely magic. That's gonna be lovely on there, I think. So there's the two pieces of meat, just under a kilo. I've trimmed off some of the unwanted bits. There's a bit of sinew and things, and because we're curing this, we're not putting it in a pressure cooker, we're not slow cooking it. That sinew will render differently in the curing process than it would if you were doing what I said before, or pressure cooking, whatever. So if there's a big piece of it on there, get rid of it, because it was just a barrier for the curing to not be able to get through very easily. So to speed things up, rather than me patting all over there, I'm just going to get right to it and stick that in there in one of these super useful bags. I don't know what we do without these bags. I feel terrible that they're plastic, but you can reuse them. It's I don't know how else you could do it really. It's just such a very convenient way of keeping everything tidy. This is my plastic vice, let's say that. So I'm going to stick those in there. Try not to get it on the outside. And that one. Again, move that out of the way. Leave a bit of air in there for now, so you can move it about. Right. I think that's a much, sorry about the noise. I think this is a more successful way of getting it all over the place. You're not wasting any on the board there, you're just literally using it all in there. And the quicker you can get that in there, the better, because I can smell that mixture from the other side of the room. It's so pungent. So all those oils, those things that I'm smelling are the oils, and the longer that you leave them out, the weaker the mix gets. So you want to get it in there doing its thing as soon as you can. Don't leave a bowl of that stuff sat out for 2 hours. Will ruin the strength of it. Right, you don't want to hear that. So I'm going to give that another good bashing so it's absolutely covered. Then I'll take the air out. Then I'll put that in the fridge for 24 hours. And I'll get back to you when that's done. Alrighty, 24 hours later. It looks to me like the bay leaves and the caraway seeds and the salt have done a nice job of this. In the plastic bag there was a residue of, I would estimate, probably 1/4 cup of juice. It's always interesting to see what salt does and how it extracts the juice out of meat. So that shows that the curing's underway and everything looks good here. It smells fantastic. Excuse the stick again, it's probably better than me putting my fist in the way. Over here I've got about 1 metre of beef middles, as they're called, sausage casings, and I got this from a company called Weschenfelder, which is a UK company. Great suppliers next day, and were very well packaged, and you get miles of the stuff and it's so cheap. If you didn't want to get it from somebody like that, you could make, if you got a traditional butcher's in town, they might give you a length or sell you a length if you're just going to do a one-off thing like this. Anyways, it's beef middles, and the reason I'm using that is because you can see the size of the meat. These need to surround that, so it's gonna be quite interesting watching me stuff that in. So I need something that opens up to about that size, and hopefully these will do that. If you used hog casings, which you'd use for a breakfast sausage or making chorizo or something, there's no way you're going to get that in there. So beef middles, or get some collagen casings or some other types of casings. They do all sorts of different things, but I prefer an animal product. That's my choice, considering we're eating meat anyway. Over here, now don't ask me why I selected all those, it just popped into my head. I just look at the meat and see what I feel like on the day. So it's quite an eclectic mix of things, especially if there's stuff in the middle. But anyway, this is sweet paprika, that's garlic powder, that's a very generous heaped teaspoon of it. All these are heaped teaspoons. That's garlic powder, that's onion powder, that's celery powder, that's white pepper. So I didn't use a spicy paprika, obviously, because that's, in that quantity, is pretty darn hot. So this in the middle, this is the wild card. Now I thought, should I just leave the flavours with that? And I thought, no, actually, this is fenugreek leaves, which is, another name is methi, which is an Indian name. So this stuff, if you make curries at home yourself, you'll know that this stuff smells pretty darn nice. And I think that will complement what I've done with the bay and the caraway seeds. I'm going to be washing this off shortly with some, what cider have I got here? It's passion fruit, low alcohol, well, it's not low alcohol, but it's passion fruit and apple cider. I'll be washing off with that to wash the excess salt off, and I'll be washing the, also I'm going to throw a bit of brandy on there as well, because why not? So that's all part of the process of kind of not sterilizing, but it adds a flavor, and also it just washes off the excess salt, and it also adds a coating which will go into the meat to act as a subtle flavor, and it also just keeps the bad bacteria at bay. So that's the next thing. I'm going to wash this off, so next time you see this, that will be cleaned off, and then I'm going to get another bag together and put all these spices in and toss them around like you're flouring something, and then we'll get back to the stuffing. Okay, all right, so that they've been washed off. Now they look completely different. In the interest of keeping my plastic footprint down, I decided not to use the plastic bag, and I threw all the spice mix in there and tossed them around. Simple to do. So these look now, they look like they've got a bark on them, something like you put on a brisket. It's a little bit thicker than I anticipated, but if you imagine when you're slicing this, once it's done, these are really thin slices. It's like you're going to have this wonderful skin of flavour. around the outside. So if you decide to, you can eat this with the beef middle casings. Some people decide to take the casing off before they eat it. If you did take the casing off, the little thin slither off each slice, you would peel a little bit of that bark off. So if you found the bark was a little bit too much, it'll disappear. But I want that flavour to go in there, into the meat, into the core. So that's hence putting a lot on there. So what I've got to do now is to get that in there. And I think I'm going to have a practice run first for my sake, because I haven't done anything like this before with such a heavy bark on it. So I'll have a little practice, and if it's worth watching, I'll turn the camera back on. Okay, I'm glad I did the practice. It was necessary. These are pretty big loins. It's a half a kilo each nearly, and I think anything bigger than that, fatter, don't bother, or trim it. I think these skins are at their max for that, unless you can source some bigger ones, but it's not necessary. Just choose your pork fillet wisely is my recommendation. So I'm just going to probably speed the camera up so it's not that tedious, and you can see the fun that I just had. Yeah, it's good. Yep, I'll do. Fold the thing over, the skin, another granny knot. Make a loop. I like this bit. Makes it look like looks like the real thing. Trim the end off. Bish bosh. Now there's one more thing to do. Very important. No, it isn't any bigger. No, I think it was just me being clumsy. Right. Pricker needle. These look pretty airless actually, but you need to prick them anyway. Just to make sure. You want to get that air out, at least to give it an escape route. Marvellous. Okay, these guys need to be left in the house now, room temperature. I'll probably put them in the ensuite again like I did with the chorizo and the salami that I made recently. Overnight. There's the finished product hanging in the ensuite shower. It's a really good place for it. They're not the prettiest looking things just yet. That'll improve in no time at all. This is 24 hours after I'm hanging in the ensuite, and that's drying out very nicely. Feeling firm. You can see the bark under the skin now. It's a nice colour. Yeah, very happy with those. I'm going to go hang them out in the workshop now. Doesn't sound like a nice place to hang things, but you'll see in the picture what I mean. It's a great space, very well insulated, and it stays a very constant temperature throughout the year. The sausages are now in the workshop, and the temperature 8.7, 8.8 degrees Celsius in here. That's kind of where it stays. And there's the chorizo. There's the Italian sausage still curing. It's been a few days now since I brought them out the ugly drum. I brought them inside. After you take something out of a smoker, it's quite an intense coating it gets, and it needs a few days to sort of dissipate and sort of chill out a little bit. So I thought a nice place to hang them up is where I keep my logs for the fireplace. And they have turned into things of beauty really. I'll do a close-up of these shortly. But now they're quite firm indeed, as it's supposed to be. And the smell, oh, it's not like pipe smoke, but if you like the smell of pipe tobacco or pipe smoke, it's got that really heady, gosh, it should be a blooming air freshener, that's amazing. So these, as I tell you, have been hanging in here for a few days, and this room just smells wonderful. So I'm going to keep things in here from now on because I like it. So yeah, these are firmed up, and I'm just going to get set to and cut one of these up now because I can't wait any longer. Finally, I'm going to get to taste these beauties. As I was just saying in the last clip, the smell of this is very appealing indeed, certainly for me. Now, the smell of the beef middle skins, when these were just hanging up initially, the smell's just a little bit odd, a little bit meaty and not maybe in a nice way. I think that's an inherent thing about beef middles. And I was worried that that flavour that smell would become a flavour and impart itself into the finished product. But the smoking has completely obliterated that and turned it into something rather special. So without further ado, I'm going to cut into this and see what we got inside. Oh, nice. Oh, look at that. It's like if you go to a gem show or something and they do these cuts of rock and they polish them. That's what it looks like. Oh my, I wish you could smell that. So let's have another, see how thin we can get this. Right, so yes, we have a choice here whether or not we want to take the skin off, thus. Right, excuse me while I taste it. Oh. Happy days. Unbloody believable. Jeez. All that white pepper's giving me a punch in the throat. I'm going to be coughing in a minute. Well, there's nothing worse than hearing people eat, sorry. That was a moment. So, from an idea in my head to the finished thing, yes, it has worked. No doubt about that. That flavour is off the scale. That is just so cool. Yeah, if you want to try something that taste, I bet a lot of people haven't had something quite like that before. That fenugreek, yeah, I can taste the bay. even though it was part of the first rub. It's definitely got a fenugreek thing going on. That's absolutely delicious. I think that's probably the tastiest thing I've ever made. Wow. Well, I'm going to take a little chunk off, another little piece. I'm going to eat it with the skin this time, just to see if these beef middle casings are palatable. Because I don't like wasting things. So you can see the skin. Okay, excuse me again. Nah, the skin just disappears. It might not look like it disappears, but that actually melts in your mouth. Yeah. Oh, I've got to get my wife in to try this. She's not going to believe it. Right, I'm just going to go and find her, and we'll pick this up. Well, Lynn just left the room with a big smile on her face, so I think she concurs. She's, in her words, she prefers this to salamis or choritos, which is contain fat, because as you remember, this is pork tenderloin, a fatless meat virtually. So you end up with this quite firm log. But she prefers this to anything else that she's had, so that's good. She preferred it without the skin on. She could tell that it was there, so you decided to take it off. But you can chop this like paper, which I like. I like the fact that you can make it super thin. That's all you need, because you can make this without smoking it. You could just hang it, air dry it for the month, and have it at that layer. But I must say, you've got to get yourself a smoker made, and that video is coming very shortly. The cold smoking is the bomb, so I'm very excited about that. I want to share that around. We have my sister-in-law's Hungarian, and her dad's a professional smoker, and he makes his own sausages over in Hungary. And Ildiko's got a good palate for what's a nice thing and what's not. And I'm very excited to see what her response to this is. Something else I mentioned in the earlier clips is when these were hanging in the workshop for that period of time, the white mould, which was jumping off the Italian salami, started to spot this. And I didn't want any form of skin mould on here at all, even though it was the white one, which is the desirable one. I didn't want that to get in the way of the smoking. So what I did, I wiped these over with clear or white malt vinegar, and that just destroys the mould instantly and just leaves no residue and no, well, initially it smells like vinegar, but it disappears very quickly. So it cleaned the skins of any of the spotted mould, ready for the smoke. And this could just hang out in the house now forever. It would just look like an Egyptian mummy. Eventually it would just shrink and shrink. But no mold will form on that. The smoke is the barrier. And I think aesthetically it looks really nice. I love the colours of it. It's yeah, it's all the it looks like ironstone or rocks I've seen in Australia. Beautiful colour. Seemed ashamed to go into it. Yeah, well, that's a result. I'm very happy with that. So if you like the looks of this, and if you end up making it and it works, could you maybe give us a thumbs up or something, or like it? Because I think this is quite a likeable thing. All right, until next time.